Okay, so I want to make this video today because I want to go over some news that I just got from a client literally yesterday. So this is a client that I've had for 8 months now. And they basically just told me that over the last 8 months from the PPC ads that they have been running with me, they've closed over $600,000. And they've only spent, I believe it was like 37 or 38K on Google PPC so far. So when you layer in my fee, even on top of their ad spend, they still have over an 11x return on investment, which is really insane. So I just wanted to quickly show you kind of what what the results are, just kind of show you the account really quick. And then if you guys have any questions or later, if you see this and you're interested and you want to book in a call, that link will be in the pinned comment below or in the video description. Feel free to check out my site and book a call on my Calendly. But let's dive into it. This is the all-time time frame, so you can see they've spent $37.8 thousand in ad spend. They've generated 163 leads. Those are form submissions, and so on average $232 a lead. So overall, I mean, to close 600,000 from 37.8K is pretty insane. They are currently targeting kind of around the wider Houston area. Now it's not just the downtown Houston area; it's wider than that. So, they've got maybe 40 or something counties around that area that they are targeting. Houston has a lot of counties surrounding it, and that's helped to keep their campaign relatively stable. They are utilizing my landing page. They are utilizing their own CRM and follow-up system and whatnot. So they kind of had that down before getting started, and I integrated into their system so they can follow up with the leads in their own system. But the landing page, the campaign, everything that I build out and I've been running for them, that is all what I manage. Okay, so some common questions that I've been getting since I've been, because I posted this on social media, and some questions that people have asking is, as a result are questions about, well, what is the budget required to spend on ads per month? How wide do people target? Like how many areas? Like how should I think about targeting? There's some others I can go into, but let's just start with that. So, in terms of how much budget you want to be spending, this client, let me just check real quick. So they're spending, on their campaign, they're spending $166 a day. So, now this is I'm just showing you what they're doing. It's not what every client does, but that's about $5,000 a month. So most of my clients actually are going to start around this price point, anywhere from 4 to 6. I think is a pretty decent starting point with PPC. I used to recommend around $3,000 a month was minimum at the lower end, but now things have gotten a little more expensive just on average. So I do recommend 4 to 6 grand a month. And they're kind of right in the middle, and they have been very consistent. I will say this, like they haven't really changed stuff all the time. They've kind of just stuck to the main targeting. They took my suggestions, and we just kind of went with it, and they've just been consistent and allowed the campaign over time just to continue performing. If you constantly make a lot of changes to your account and you're always, in terms of, targeting and budget and all this different stuff, the campaign has to keep kind of going through learning phases, and that can kind of add to, because it can add to what, the money that you have to spend on it. Because anytime that you do a test, right, which, anytime that you target somewhere new or you change, reduce, increase your budget, basically what you're doing is you're having to, you're forcing Google to now have to adapt to that. And so anytime that you are forcing adaptation, it requires money to test how that's going to perform. So for example, if you have two ads, right, just to simplify this, if you have two ads, you have ad A and ad B, you're not going to know A or B, which one's going to do better. You have to put money towards both to figure out, okay, is this one to perform better or is that one to perform better? So the test itself costs and requires money. So if you have something and you're starting and you're getting it running and it's working, most of the time in marketing, if something's working, we don't want to kill it. We don't want to turn it off. If it's not working, we want to kill it quickly, because the tests require money. And so part of what I think that this client, at least for what I see from my end, right, because I'm not the one on their end closing the deals, but from what I see on my end, the media buying perspective, is that they've been relatively consistent. And I've actually reached out to this client multiple times saying like, hey, do you want to do this and try maybe working on this area for quality's sake, or maybe adjusting landing page here to see how that might affect things. And they're just been fine with how things are because they're making money from it. But quality, like my philosophy regarding quality is that you need lead flow first. You need to get leads coming in, and usually with local targeting, lead flow can be more inconsistent because it can be more expensive in highly competitive areas. So what we did with this campaign to try to avoid that is number one, we didn't just target just Houston. We targeted wider around Houston to give them the best shot of getting more leads in as they could. And that's very important because sometimes if you just stay very, very local and you're like, no, all I want to do is focus on these counties. And if we get anything outside of that, we can't work it and we don't want to spend on it. That's fine. You just have to realize you're thinning your auctions out and your bids are going to be higher. So you're going to get less data and the campaign is going to take longer to optimize and it's not going to be as consistent. So they took my advice and then, they got lead flow and then they maintained it over the last 8 months, which is great. If we had decided, hey, actually we want to shrink that down now, we're getting lead flow coming in and now we want to shrink it down to maybe just 5 or 6 counties, they may have gotten much different results because that would have been a big change. You're going to spike your cost per lead, at least in the short term. And so that's just something to keep in mind. I do have clients as well that target semi-nationwide. They target, multiple states, even statewide sometimes, across multiple states. And they may see a lower average cost per lead with that. It's just the other thing you want to keep in mind is if you target wider, you need to make sure that you're actually able to move and close deals in those areas. So those are some important key points to keep in mind. So I kind of went over budget. People ask me, like, how many areas should I target? And then the other question they asked me is, is there a guarantee with any of this? The shorter to the answer to that is no, but I'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of, how many areas, there's no set number, like you have to target this many markets in order to get these results. Generally what I see, and this is what I try to explain to people, is that the principle is that the more areas you target, the more search volume you have. Basically, like if you are targeting 10 states versus one, there's a lot more people searching, a lot more motivated sellers out there searching on Google out of those 10 states than there are in just one. And so you have a lot more search volume. And so that means that there's a lot more, as your campaign's more diversified, there's a lot more opportunity for Google to find lower cost clicks and to bid more efficiently for you. And when you have lower bids that you're bidding on for these clicks, then your average cost per lead is going to come down. And when your average cost per lead comes down, you're getting in more leads per week, per month, etc., which means you're getting more data with a Google account to work with and to understand what it is that you are trying to, basically what's working in your account and your campaign and what's not, as well as on my end as I'm optimizing it. However, if all you do, like you can target a lot of markets, but if all of them are hyper competitive areas and you're just like picking little pockets and cities and whatnot, your average cost per lead could be higher than if you just did statewide, because now you're only picking out lots of areas that are already very high bid areas. And so, it's not a hard rule on, if you target wider, you automatically get, lower cost. It also depends on the markets you target. Now, the third thing that people have been asking me seeing this is, okay, so what, is there a guarantee? Like, are we guaranteed to make, basically they want to know, if I do this PPC marketing, am I going to make money from it? And the way that you need to think about this, because the answer is you can't guarantee anything. Like no agency out there is going to be able to say, that we're going to guarantee you're going to make money. There's a high likelihood, right? There's a certain percentage likelihood that you're going to, perform at a certain, there's like an average basically, right? The average ROI from inbound marketing is a 3x. And that's for most forms of inbound marketing. And that's across most industries. So I consider personally anything of a 5x or more, 5 to 10x, to be outstanding. And this client is, they've done really, really well. So what I'm trying to say is, like, you need to look at your marketing as a way to amplify what you're already doing well in your business and to grow and scale it, right? It's not, whenever you invest into inbound marketing or any form of marketing, you're not investing into instant cash flow. We'd love for it to work that way all the time, but it doesn't. It requires testing. Just like anybody, or just like anything in life with anybody that you work with, right? So the way you need to think about it is, if you have an established business, if you're an established wholesaler and you're closing multiple deals per month with certain marketing channels and you want to grow and expand and grow that, then you need to say, okay, this is our, set aside budget for testing purposes for new inbound marketing channels. This is what we're willing to put aside for that. And whether it works or not, that's not of too much consequence to us or the survivability of our business or how we're going to, do long term. But it will give us the data to know what's going to work for us and what's not in our markets in the way that we need to generate more leads for our business. And so Once you know that, okay, so we're going to put aside, 5, 6K per month towards that, and we're going to test out PPC. You get that machine going. So the idea is you're building the machine for the long term. This client, like I said, this is over 8 months. Their results month one, month two might not have been month three, month four, and so on, right? Seasonality changes things, but you have to look at things over the longer perspective. And I'm sure that anybody that you talk to in inbound marketing that actually knows what they're doing and has done this for a while is going to say you really should look at your results over a 6 month period. I do a minimum 90 days. It doesn't make sense for me to work with people for less than that. But you can usually get a good idea after 3, 4 months of how something is going. You need to at least do a 90-day test. If you have a really big budget, you could maybe speed that process up because you're pumping more in, but then you may not want to spend such a high budget. This is another question I actually get asked is, well, what if we just put a lot of money into this, immediately? Um, and that's you can do it, but the thing is that you want to make sure that Google's ready for that because you start a campaign on a blank slate on an account and you're pumping lots of money into it. Google doesn't know yet where the most efficient place to spend that money is. We have to get the campaign running. We build out ad groups and we build out ads within those ad groups and we have lists of keywords within each of those ad groups. And Google has to test all of that across all of the different markets you're targeting to figure out where the best cost per lead and most efficient, place for impressions and your spend to go within your campaign. So if you're pumping lots of money into it, it may just be throwing money all over the place at first. And there's ways to set boundaries on that. You can do a manual CPC campaign and you can set a target CPA and you can do those types of things to try to put boundaries on it. But still, it's a better process to start with a reasonable budget for the areas and the markets you're targeting, and that's something that I can walk through on a call if you're ever curious, just kind of what would make sense for what you want to do. But and then you want to scale up from there. So you need to get that established. You need to number one, generate lead flow. So you have your budget, you have your markets. Okay, that's set, that's appropriate, and you have everything set up. So you start running the campaign. Month one is we're getting the leads in, right? We're just getting that data. Now, when I say that, some people imagine, oh, does that mean we're not going to be getting that many leads, or does that mean that all the leads are going to be complete junk month one? And no, it could be depending on how you have your campaign set up and who's managing it, right? But it's always a possibility, but generally, no, you're going to get some mix of high quality leads, some mix of leads you don't really want, and you're going to figure out kind of what the average cost is. And leads do generally start coming in within 2 to 7 days. So that's month one. Month two, then, is we start to look at the quality. We have, a certain set of leads within your account now. It's been a month. I always meet with new clients after the first 2 weeks, no matter what. We want to sit down and we want to go over that initial data. But after about a month, then we kind of have enough and we start looking at the quality. And in the CRM that I provide, we actually break it down by, okay, these are all the leads that were good leads. These are the leads that you made offers on. These are the leads that, even you can, maybe if you have a lead under contract for month 1 or 2 or whatever, that's great. And we look at, okay, these are the ones that we don't want, right? These are the ones that were listed. Maybe these were mobile homes. These are wholesalers, right? There's a lot of different categories that you could organize those into. But I personally, when I work with a client, I want to know exactly how many leads are not good and then exactly how many are progressing through the pipeline, because the percentages matter and where they're coming from in the campaign needs to be tracked, and that matters because we need to be able to make surgical adjustments and if we need to, or we just need to see the general pattern and have real numbers. If a client just tells me like the leads are bad, that doesn't give me any information to really, it doesn't tell me how many leads are bad. It doesn't tell me which leads were bad. I won't know where they came from in the campaign, and I won't know what the issue was. I won't know if these leads were listed. I won't know if they were just not if the motivation's not there, right? And so we have to break that data down. And so we start to do that process around month two, beginning of month two, because we have some leads and we can sit down with the client. I'll sit down and we look at that together. The other thing that we'll sit down and look at is we will look at your actual location targeting, and we'll sit there and we'll look at, okay, per county and within each county, per city, and even, if you're doing statewide, you can break it into counties, of course. And we'll look at what is the cost per lead and the quality of the lead from each location and how is that panning out, right? Assuming that you're targeting multiple areas. And over time, as you get more and more of that data, you can start to see, okay, these markets, we're getting a lot of good leads from. These markets are maybe not so much, and start to make adjustments. In the case of this case study client that I'm talking about from the beginning of this video, we really only did that one time. We sat down and I told him, hey, you're doing local. I suggest you go as wide as you can. We expanded out. I think we maybe removed a couple things, soon after that were getting a little expensive, and that's it. Then we left it. And it's been like that for a while. And they're just closing deals. So That's kind of the process. Month two is we start to look at quality, and I utilize something, and I mentioned this in a lot of past videos. You can go look up kind of more on this in my other videos or elsewhere, but offline conversion tracking is very important. You basically need to, out of the leads that come in, you need to tell Google which ones were the qualified ones. There's a way to do this and set this up with my system. It's very simple, and I do it for my clients. And all they have to do is tag the leads that were qualified or that closed, sends it to Google. Now you're creating a data set in your Google ad account that Google now understands, okay, these are the ones that are qualified and whatnot. And it starts to try to optimize for more leads similar to that. Month three is usually when clients, if they're doing well, are asking, okay, how do we start scaling? What's a budget, increase look like? Month three, month four is usually when I start getting those questions. That is always done usually in 25% increments, and you want to give it 2 to 3 weeks in between each change. So if your budget, is, I have to do some math here, but like let's say that your target, let's say that you're doing 6 grand a month. So let me just pull out a calculator. So 6,000, and we times that by 1.25. So the next increase, so then you'd go up to 7,500 per month in ad spend. And you'd let that run for 2 to 3 weeks just to make sure the campaign has time to adapt and adjust to that budget change. What you don't want to do is jump from 6 to 12K overnight. Just because it's going to throw kind of a wrench into your algorithm, and you want to give Google a chance to adapt to the changes you're making. I have scaled clients up really fast that have wanted to do that in the past, where we went from like, what was it? It was like 33% every 2 weeks. And they quickly, I think, got up to like 30 grand a month or something. But too much was happening at once, and the algorithm was shifting too much. And the leads that they were getting in, there was not enough time for them on their end to really even respond to the changes that they were requesting. So in terms of their business and how they're managing those leads. So for that reason, you really need to have your systems in place before you just try to push money. I understand some people really, if something's doing well, want to keep pumping more money into it. But I mean, this is a clear case study where they haven't changed their budget. This client that I've worked with for the last 8 months, that's been the same budget, the same 5K per month for almost the whole year, right? And they've done really, really well with that because they have that consistency. So just hammering this in, like, consistency is very important, especially with Google. If something's working, try not to turn it off. If it's not working, cut it. And you need to test. You have to try something else. And that's the mindset. There's no guarantees with anything. You have to test things and see what's going to work, because you don't know. You don't know for sure. You need to do your research. You need to, work with people who understand, obviously, your niche, right? So for me, I specialize in motivated seller leads and working with wholesalers and investors. But beyond that, there's only so much preparation you can do before you just have to put some money into something and test it out and see how it goes. So if you guys have any questions, if you want to know more, I would love it if you left a comment below and asked your questions right in there, because then that gives me ideas on what to make videos about that you guys are curious about. And I'll try to do that with your comments. But go ahead and like and subscribe to the video. If you do want to hop on a call, go ahead and click the link in the description or in the pinned comment below. And go ahead and book in a call. It's basically, I just do 20-minute calls, just kind of hop on a call and get to know you a bit, hear about what your goals are. And then, after that, I'm always happy to take it to a Zoom meeting or something and sit down and kind of show you my system. And if it seems like, it might be something that you want to look deeper into. So hope you guys are having a great day. I hope this video is helpful. I'm super excited for my client, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.